Hi, I'm Maureen. This is a flow and restore class. We'll do a little bit of warm up and then move into vinyasa flow. But the emphasis on the class is the restorative yoga poses. So just consider the first part a way to come into your body and to lift up your energy and release it so that you can really give yourself permission to release and let go into some of these restorative poses, which are deeply relaxing and very nurturing, very healing. So we will begin. Oh, first I should mention restorative yoga requires quite a lot of props. And if you don't have the props that you might find at the fitness studio or at a yoga studio, then you will use what you have at home. So I have a bolster, and that's a very helpful prop. If you don't have it, then we're going to improvise. If you have a roller, hopefully you have one of the longer rollers potentially you could use, and then we can soften it by adding a towel on top of it. Yoga blocks are very helpful. If you don't have that, a full toilet paper roll is going to do the trick. A substitute for the bolster is several pillows, and try to find firm pillows and lots of them. Not just two. If you have more, grab them. And beach towels are a great substitute for yoga blankets. The bigger, the better, the longer, the more supportive. And so at least have two towels. You can always pause the video to get what you need, either now or as we transition into our restorative poses. But let's begin with a few moments of centering. Come into a comfortable seated position. Just taking in a few breaths. Giving yourself that time to transition from whatever you were doing prior. Giving yourself some time to just land in the space on your mat. Here, arriving to this breath. And to tune in more to our breath, I'm going to ask you to place your hands first lightly, placing your hands on your upper chest. And just sensing the gentle rise and fall of the chest as you breathe in and breathe out. And then place your hands on your ribs, anywhere that's comfortable. Again, a very light touch. And just see if on an inhale, you can feel a slight expansion of the rib cage, moving out laterally left and right. And as you exhale, the ribs coming back together. And lastly, placing your hands in your lower abdomen, light touch. On an inhale, the belly may inflate ever so slightly, and the belly button pulls back towards the spine on the exhale. Just really tuning in. It's okay if you feel very little. Just tuning into what sensations you do notice. And for the breath practice, one hand on the heart and one hand on the abdomen. And we're just tuning into a three-part breath. With intention, draw the inhale down to the belly. So first, feel the belly inflate. And the second part is the ribs, and the third part is the chest lifts. And then it reverses on the exhale. Chest falls in, ribs pull back together, belly pulls back towards spine. We separated initially just to recognize and be aware. Inhale, belly expands, ribs separate, chest lifts. And exhale, it reverses. And then just keeping that a little bit more fluid. Rather than separating those stages out, just checking in, seeing if you can notice. And then let that go. Return to your normal breath. The purpose of doing that kind of regulated breath practice or pranayama is to encourage lengthening and deepening of the breath. Bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. Take a moment, set an intention for this practice. Sing a word, a phrase, an aspiration, something you want more of in yourself, in your life. And hold that intention as we practice. I have a beautiful quote from the poet Hafiz. He lived after Rumi in the 1300s. He said, "Awake, my dear. Be kind to your sleeping heart. Take it out into the fields of light and let it breathe." Take a big, deep breath in. And an even deeper, longer, slower, smoother breath out. And release your hands to your thighs and blink your eyes open. This practice is a good one to do in the evening, but you are welcome to do it any time of day that it suits you. Hands off to the side, palms face out. Inhale, arms out and up overhead. Sun breaths, just letting your body wake up. Lengthen through the spine and exhale. Press your palms down. Tuning into your breath. Let your arms match the inhale. Your hands will meet at the top of your inhale. Perhaps you pause. Hold the breath. And when you're ready to exhale, release. Opening up, stretching, expanding, tuning into your breath. Last one. Inhale. Let your ribs expand. Reach up nice and tall through the spine. Look up, lengthen. And exhale, turn your palms away and release. Let it go. Let's wake up the side bodies. The side body. Interlace your hands behind your head and press your head into your hands and the hands resist. Take those elbows out as wide as feels good for you. Inhale, lift up long and tall. And exhale, side bend to the right. And press down through your left sit bone and hang out here for a breath. And then inhale back up to center. And exhale, side bend to the left. Feel steady and secure in your seated pose with your legs and your hips, and just let this opening happen from the hips up through the shoulders. Inhale back up to center and release the bind and send your arms out wide. Roll your shoulders. Let's lift up nice and tall for a twist. Twist your torso to the right. Let the hands float down. Find a position for leverage. Take another breath in and lengthen through the spine. And exhale, twist a little deeper. Creating some movement, some space in your spine. Keep breathing while you hold the pose. And then release to center. Root down through your sit bones. Draw your belly in and lift up nice and tall. And then twist the torso to the left. And then arms float down for leverage. Place them. Press down through the sit bones and through your hands as you lift and lengthen through the spine. And exhale. Twist to the left. Draw your belly in and keep breathing while you hold your spine in this twist. And release and let it go. And just go laterally side to side and come standing. Move the blanket. Shake your arms and legs out. I invite you, if you do have a block, you could use the toilet paper roll just to put the block between your calves, so below the knees, and it's just a little muscle engagement, and it's bringing your feet a little bit closer together. Helps you to keep these leg muscles involved. And now I'd just like to invite you to lift up through the pelvic floor, lift up through the core, right on up to your sternum, and keep that engagement as we do a neck tilt, right ear to right shoulder. So keep this is called the lower lock, the Mula Bandha. You're welcome to add the right hand to the top side of the head to add to this neck tilt, never entering into pain, just adding a little assistance. Keep your lower half of your body engaged. Release the hand, come back to center. The lower muscles are still engaged as you take left ear to left shoulder, as far as you can on your own. Add the hand, for a little bit of extra tension. Keep breathing, keep your muscles engaged, and then release and come back to center. And then just one neck circle in each direction. So knowing you're only going around once, make it good. Don't come into pain, just take it to the extension that feels good. And then reverse the other direction. Giving some tender loving care to your neck and let it go and let your block go. Let's just warm up the hamstrings with a forward fold and a half lift. So mountain pose, press down through feet, engage your thighs, pull in your core. Inhale, arms out and up. As you reach up, look up, Tadasana. Turn your palms away, hinge at the hips as you bow. Swan dive the arms out wide. Loud bend in the knees, give your hamstring time to wake up. As you come down into your forward fold, lift your hips, point the crown of the head down. Then inhale, rise up halfway and add length to the legs, hands on knees, long spine. Pull your belly to the spine, pull shoulder blades together on your back and reach the crown of the head forward. And then add a slight bend to the knees as you come back down to your forward fold. Let's repeat. These are pranams. Inhale, lift up halfway. This is Ardha Uttanasana or half forward fold. Exhale, back down to Uttanasana, full forward fold. Last one. Inhale, rise. This is a really nice, gentle way to warm up the legs and the back. Exhale, forward fold. Add a little bend to the knees. Hands on hips, elbows point up to the ceiling as you press down through your feet and rise up. Release. And we'll move right into our vinyasas. Let's just do one straight vinyasa with no add-ons. And I want you to move lightly through this. Especially if it's nighttime, you're doing this as a end of evening pose, then keep all this vinyasa light. If it's afternoon and you really need to shake off some stress, then go and take it to the fullest extension of your capacity. All right, standing in mountain pose, Tadasana. Plant your feet into the earth. Firm up your legs, strong as the trunk of a tree. Draw your belly in, point the tailbone down. Lift shoulders up to the ears, shoulder blades glide down the mat, back, and hands face forward. Call to mind your intention. Tadasana is where we call to mind our intention and we let it infuse and color and saturate these poses. Inhale, arms out wide and up high. Look up, Urdhva. Turn your palms away and hinge at the hips as you swan dive your arms out wide and bow forward. All the way down, bend the knees if you're still warming up. Inhale, lift up halfway and lengthen. Reach long through the crown of your head. Exhale, back forward fold. Hands can go to blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use a toilet paper roll or do without. As you step the right foot back, straight leg lunge. Wake up the hip. Lower the weight of the hips down as you lift the heart and lift your gaze and lift your fingertips. And then hands touch the ground. As you step back, downward facing dog. Take time to warm up your body if this is your first down dog of the day. Deep bends in the knees. You could walk the dog with opposite knee and heel bending. You could sway the hips. And you can shake the head yes or no to check in if your neck is not holding excess tension. And then on an inhale, shift the body forward to plank. Draw everything to the midline. Squeeze all of your muscles, broad shoulders. And then knees can touch the ground, or you can come down in full plank, but keep elbows close to ribs as you lower down to the mat. Extend legs, press down through the lower legs. Inhale, lift up through the heart, pull shoulder blades down your back, baby cobra. Exhale, lower, tuck your toes. Inhale up to table, and exhale, lift hips up, downward facing dog, and stay here for a breath or two. So the heart rate, deepen your breath, and come a little deeper in your downward facing dog. And on an inhale, your right leg rises. Oops.
Long behind you. Exhale, bend the knee. Pull the knee forward. Step the leg forward. Take as many steps as you need to. And then settle into straight leg lunge as you lower hips, lift your heart, lift your gaze, lift your fingers. And then press off back foot to join front foot. In your forward fold, take an extra breath here as you lift up through the hips. Point the crown of the head down. And we'll begin to rise as we pull the belly to the spine and reverse swan dive, arms out wide and up high. Look up, Barakanasana. Hands touch. Exhale into your heart and release. Breath in. Full breath out. And we continue. Inhale, arms out and up. Reach up, look up. Turn your palms away, hinge at the hips as you bow. Come down into your forward fold. Let's come up halfway for Ardha Uttanasana. Long spine. Exhale, back down to your forward fold and exhale. Step the left foot back, straight leg lunge. Sink the hips. Lift the heart, lift the fingertips. And then we're going to twist. And your choice is you have option to lower that back knee down to the ground for more stability, or challenge yourself and keep the back knee lifted. Left hand touches the ground or around the area of the big toe. To give yourself more space, you can place your hand on the block, twist towards the front right bent knee, and lift the right hand up. See about lowering the hips and keep adding to the twist in the torso. And then float that hand back down. Remove any blocks as you step back. Downward facing dog. Come a little deeper. Take in the benefit of this pose. As you can feel the spine lengthening as you lift your hips up and push them back. Keep your hands spread out wide like a starfish to protect your wrists. And little by little, you're lowering heels down towards the ground. On an inhale, shift forward to plank. Pull everything into the midline. Keep breathing, but keep those muscles active to support you here. And then exhale, lower. Release. And immediately rise into your back bend. Perhaps your arms lengthen and you come into a full cobra. Or you can keep it a baby cobra. Release down. And we meet in downward facing dog. You can come up through table or come up through plank. And you stay here for several breaths. Think of your body as an upside down V. So really hinge at the hips. Lift your sit bones up. Point the tailbone up and then pull your ribs towards your thighs. And then inhale that left leg up high and long, three-legged dog. Exhale, bend the knee, pull into your ribs, and step up forward. Take your time. Place your feet in a position that serves you. And then when you're steady, sink your hips and lift your heart and be light on fingertips. You have a choice. Do you lower that back knee for stability in your twist, or do you keep it up high? Place the right hand on the ground, add the twist. Really come into the full twist in your torso and then lift the arm. You can look up at that thumb. You look up with the opposite eye to really help you come into the full twist in your cervical neck. And float that hand back down. Press off back foot to join the front foot. And you're in Uttanasana. Take an extra breath here and enjoy this inversion, head below heart. And then pull your belly to your spine, engage, and reverse swan dive, arms out wide and up high. Look at your thumbs for a little back bend, hands touch. Exhale them to your heart. Take a breath in and a breath out. As hands float down to your sides, and we continue. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge the hips and bow. Tune into your breath. Let your bow last as long as your exhale. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, long spine. Exhale back, forward fold. Let's go ahead and step the left foot back for straight leg lunge. Sink the hips, lift the heart, lift the fingers. And then fingertips touch back down as you spin the back foot to connect as we prepare to rise up in warrior two. Keep that front knee bent. Windmill, arms out wide. And come into warrior two. Feel free to readjust your feet if they're not in the right position. Keep pulling that knee towards the pinky toe, really opening out across the front of your body and breathing. And now let's flow. Straighten that front leg and turn your gaze to look at the side of your mat and hands touch overhead. Exhale back to warrior two. Sink a little deeper. Active legs. Inhale, straighten legs, arms meet up overhead, gaze shifts to the center of your mat. Exhale, back, warrior two. Sink a little deeper. Keep breathing. And then pivot to come out of that onto the ball of the back foot. Left hand sweeps to meet right hand. Hands come down to frame the foot. Step back, downward facing dog. And breathe. Slow the heart rate. Inhale, shift forward to plank and squeeze everything. Exhale, lower. Inhale, rise up, back bend. Exhale, lower. And meet back in downward facing dog. Moving through this lightly, letting the breath power you through it, letting the blood, the breath, your energy flow from head to toe. On an inhale, your left leg rises and you step it forward. Straight leg lunge. Lower the hips, lift the heart. Let's do the same thing on the other side with our warrior two. Spin the back foot, connect. Take your time to really find the right placement. Keep a bend in the front knee as you power up and windmill out. Looking out over your front fingertips, sink a little deeper, and then we'll flow. Pyramid. Gaze goes to the middle of the mat. Everything lengthens. Exhale, sink into warrior two. Inhale, up, pyramid. Exhale, back, warrior two. Let's leave it at that. As we pivot to come out of that, come onto the ball of the back foot. Hands come together and float down. And you press off back foot to join the front foot. In your forward fold, point the crown of the head down. And then reverse swan dive, arms out and up. Keep your spine nice and straight. As you rise up, reach up, look up, hands touch. And exhale, pull it to your heart. And release. And then we'll come down. We'll transition with a wide-legged forward fold, which is a nice transition from standing poses and lateral poses to our restorative poses. So step wide and keep those feet parallel. Keep your spine nice and long, hinging at the hip crease, not at the waist. Take a breath in and exhale, fold forward. Add a bend to the knees if there's tightness in the inner groins or the hamstrings. And then let those hands float down underneath shoulders. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then go ahead and round the spine and bow the head. And just see where gravity takes you. Breathing into this. And then hands under shoulders. Let the arms lengthen. Bring hands to your hips and add a bend to your knees as you rise up with a straight spine. And heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. And just let that go. Sway the hips, whatever feels good for you. And we'll come on down to the ground and we'll begin to transition towards our restorative poses. And this is a good time to lower the lights or find music that you like. Really creating the atmosphere that best helps you to relax.
A nice seated pose before we enter our restorative poses is Barakanasana. So let this be loose. Give it a little extra space between heels and sit bones. Place your hands behind your hips, and then just lift your sit bones up and bring them slightly closer. It's a little bit more gentle way to open up the hips. Bring hands back around, touch the ankles, and then just see where those knees float to. You might just gently move them up and down. Just a little coaxing to give hips time to open. You're welcome to fold forward. I encourage you to keep the spine straight, keep the shoulders broad, to get the work in your low back. It doesn't have to be your deepest stretch. And then let it go. To do our first restorative pose, I'm going to show you with the bolster, and then know that you could easily use 2-3 pillows. You're trying to think about this height off the ground. So with these types of pillows, I would need 3 of them. I could use the 2 pillows plus the towel. But I do want you to have a towel to go between your knees. So this is supported twist. It's a little bit different from the one we did last week. So your hips will come flush with the base of the bolster. The knees will stack one on top of the other. You might as well get that blanket there now. And I would hope that you have a blanket that's long enough for your knees and your ankles. If not, you'll improvise, or you could use 2 towels. It's very helpful to have not only the soft blanket between the knees, but also between the ankles. All right, and then here's the twist. Your hands frame your pillows or the bolster, and you really lengthen through the spine, and you add as much twist as is comfortable for you. The goal being to put your front of your torso on this bolster. But you're going to respond and honor your body wherever it gets to. Arms frame the bolster, and you're welcome to face the bent knees. Or if you'd like a little bit more twist, then you turn your head the opposite way and experiment. If that's too much, you could put a block underneath to lift this up, and that is a little bit less demand on the muscles in the twisting. I'd like to encourage you to try it without any support. Again, if you don't have blocks, you could put the toilet paper roll. But you want to experiment and keep trying until it's 100% delicious. So restorative pose, you have time. We hold it for 3 to 4 minutes. So experiment, adjust, readjust until it's just right, and you can sink into the pose and truly release. I'm holding the time in the class for the pose, and I'll let you know when it's time to transition. Think about those knees being stacked on top of one another and the ankles being stacked on top of one another. Now I'm going to make an adjustment to this pose
I'm going to ask you to press your hands into the mat to lift your torso so that you can be completely on your side. So for me, it's on my right side. So the right arm extends, and I lay my head back down, and then invite this top arm to extend up overhead, and then lay on the side of my head or the ear, and just let this hand flop down. Does not need to do anything. It should be heavy. Just adding on a side body opening to this pose. And as with any of these poses, if it's not comfortable, if it's not releasing and relaxing and restoring for you, then adjust and feel free to make the pose just right for you. I'm just holding this pose about 30 seconds. So lift that top arm up and let it come in front of the bolster as you press down to lift the whole body up, and we'll prepare to do the same pose on the other side. So just keeping everything as is, but turning your hips, thinking about knees being stacked and the blanket supporting both knees and ankles. The bolsters or pillows are flush with your hip, the opposite one. Hands frame the bolster. Try to add some length to the spine, and then drape your torso over the center. Initially, letting your head turn towards the bent knees, and if you want more, feel free to experiment and add an extra twist in your cervical spine to turn away from the bent knees. Readjust, making sure the knees are stacked upon one another, the ankles are stacked upon one another. And just truly sink into it. Just totally release your weight. Try to let go. Let these props hold you up. Just one more breath cycle in this pose, and then we'll just do that slight adjustment so that you're laying on the side body. When you finish your exhale, press your palms into the mat to lift your torso up. Turn so that you are now on the same side body, the direction that your knees are pointing. Release your head down so that bottom arm is long. The top arm extends overhead and rests on the side of the head. If it falls forward, try to pull that top arm back to allow this to be a side body lengthening. And just hold here for a bit. If it doesn't feel good in your shoulders, then release this overhead arm. And then slowly bring that arm back down and let the hand touch the mat to help you lift your torso and come up and out of this pose. Keep the towel nearby. The next pose we're coming into is supported child's pose. So the bolster can remain as is, or you can be using your pillows. If you're using one of these firm rollers, then put pillows on top of it. And you're going to need something that is going to cover the length of your body from the pubic bone up through the head. So pause the video if you need to get more props.
If you're okay, then you bring the support for your torso up as high as you can between the thighs. Lift up nice and tall. And then you lay your body down. And if this is too deep of an opening, that you don't feel comfortable or that your hips or hamstrings are tight, then you're going to add to it. You can lift the angle of the torso. The angle of the bolster. You can place towel, rolled up towel, between hips and heels. You can add a little support for your neck. If there was some bending or any kind of extra effort, then you could add a little support. For me, that tilts my neck up, so I will not use that. But you're going to meet your body where it's at and add supports. Take your time, pause the video, keep experimenting until you find it's just right for you. And then you release and you hold. And you breathe. And you let the world spin without you for a while. I'll give you a heads up when you can, halfway through, when you can turn your head. Feel free to keep your head in the placement that you have it right now, or if you'd like to turn it the opposite way. I'm going to prepare to transition out of this pose. Let your hands press you down into the mat to help you lift your torso and remove the pillows or the bolster, but keep a towel handy. I'm going to encourage you to let that towel be about 6 inches in width. So you just want it, you can experiment and see. You're going to place this underneath the hips, not down so that it lifts the pubic bone. When this is a downward facing rest. So you're trying to put this in about where your hips are, and then let your bolster be near the bottom of your mat to be underneath your ankles. So it might take a little adjusting, but you're trying to place the blanket underneath the hips. And that the pubic bone needs to be free so that the tailbone slants down. We don't want the tailbone arched up. That's going to be a lordotic curve in your spine. We just want to lift the hip bones and then let the tailbone just drift down. So take your time, experiment. You just lift up on your elbows and adjust the blanket. If it's too thick, then you can unroll it and make the towel a little bit longer. And then for your forehead, I encourage you to have palms stacked on one another, palms facing up, and the palm cups the forehead. If you don't have a bolster for underneath your ankles, that could be a rolled towel or one of the pillows. And once you've found the sweet spot, you really just let your weight be held. Breathe into this pose with your hands on your forehead. You are touching many different energy points, marma point. There's to have pressure on them it activates their calming effects. So if you can hold it there, if it's all right with your wrists, let the palms cup the forehead. Just one more breath cycle here. Remembering it's within your capacity just to pause the video and really enjoy longer restorative poses. I just want to make sure I can expose you to many different poses. When you've finished your exhale, I'm going to ask you to push the bolster or whatever's underneath your ankles out of the way so that you can press up into table. And keeping this same width of blanket, we're going to now put that underneath the sternum and come into a supported back bend. And whatever was underneath your knees is now underneath your ankles is now going to be underneath your knees. So just rearranging, moving so as not to disturb yourself. Remember, this is coming underneath the shoulder blade so that it lifts the sternum up. It's not sitting underneath the top of the shoulders or anywhere near the neck. So just lie back. I could bring mine down just a touch, say it really lifts up the sternum, and then you lower your head back down. And if that does not feel good on your neck, you have a second blanket, and you could put that underneath your neck. Let there be some space between your legs, and then let the feet flop open. And the arms are at your side. They could also be out wide in a T. Just kind of experiment and see what works for you. The name of this pose is supported back bend. Your head is slightly below your heart, creating an inversion and allowing the blood flow to reverse from head to brain. It's very good for you. Again, I encourage you, just let your body be held by these props. Release your weight completely. In complete trust. One more breath cycle in this restorative pose. And once you've finished your exhale, taking care to come out of this pose to support your body, first thing you'll do is remove whatever is underneath your knees. With bent knees, rolling to one side, and then pressing yourself up and releasing all of your supports as you're invited to come into the final pose of Shavasana. If there was any support that was particularly delightful, feel free to add back in. It's always helpful to have a pillow or a roll towel or a bolster underneath your knees. That takes a little weight off your low back. If you want one of those blankets underneath your neck, add that in. The final pose of Shavasana is just letting go. Coming back into your body with minimal supports. Just residing in stillness. You're welcome to stay longer in Shavasana, but I will bring this class to a close with the ring of the bell. Just stay where you're at, just listen to the sound. When you're ready, bring small movement to fingers and wrists, to toes and ankles. As you're ready, then lengthen out or move and stretch in any way that feels good to your body. Take your time. Eventually, you'll bend your knees and roll to one side. When you're ready, press off with one hand and an elbow and bring yourself upright. Keep your attention inward. Give yourself a moment to settle and come into a comfortable seated position. With your eyes closed, let your hands meet at your center, at your heart in Anjali Mudra. And bow your head to your heart. Call to mind your intention. Take this intention with you. Take it off the mat. Repeat your intention whenever it comes to mind. We get to move in the way of our choosing, and an intention helps us move in that direction. Take a big deep breath in, and an even deeper, longer, slower, smoother breath out. We'll end with the word namaste. Sanskrit word has many different translations. Today I offer this one. The light in me sees and honors the very same light in each of you. Namaste. That's one of the nice benefits of these Zoom classes. You can just roll from a restorative class right into bed. Thank you for your practice.